these days are behind me, and I feel a deep sense of shame and pain in my heart at that fact. What I have actually been doing is dirtying my hands attempting to fix Jiga. That's also not very true. I was standing watching somebody else dirty their hands. Fixed. She is starting rather like an 85-year-old woman with a walking stick, but nevertheless we've got her going slowly. I am sorry to have been late. But I've just been over to Arathusa to get an update on, apparently there's lots of chatter about the Styx lioness and the fate of that pride. The latest is as follows. There was a Styx lioness killed by the Birmingham males yesterday on Hoffman's, which other Styx females who apparently have banded together. One of them is the mother of the cub. The cub is still alive. I have no further information on whether the Matimbas have done further damage south of that. There are rumors of that, but I'm not really sure about that. So that's, I'm afraid, the status of what's going on with the Styx lionesses. Now that was yesterday. To the south of us there, that is quite a long way away. The Birminghams are now far north of us on Biffle's Hook. So they really are doing in the process of a major sort of territorial takeover, and it's the last time this sort of action was seen was when the Mapoko were around. They killed more than 9 lionesses at one stage, so we hope that they don't go that far, but certainly it would seem that in this area it's not that unusual for lionesses to be killed by male lions taking over the area. Not very nice to be a lion. I was asked this morning if I could choose an animal to be, what would it be, so that I could further. I chose elephant or wild dog, definitely not lion, because I probably wouldn't last long enough to understand any of the behavior. Anyway, now, what happened this morning was that the Ngahuma Pride seemed to have disappeared or vaporized in a block not too far from here. I'm hoping that they've reconstituted like some sort of transported material from a Star Trek Enterprise, but perhaps they haven't. We're going to go into that area and try and have a look and see if we can't. Remember, you know this now, of course, because you've been on Drive for a while. We do love to hear from you. Hashtag Safari Live if you're tweeting like a white proud scrub robin, or questions at WildEarthTV if you're emailing. I'm now going to turn to the front because my left eye has been burnt by the sun. Thank you very much, and here we go. One, I can see nothing out of my left eye. Please look to the left. I can tell you without a shred of doubt in my mind that he is not watching. I think he is currently either fishing or... no, I'm not going to say what else I think he's doing. He's probably fishing right now. But I'll sing it to him at closing. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to frighten all the animals away. Not that there are any animals, of course, but I don't wish to do it now. I will do it at the end, Carrie. There is some impala, Brian. It's the same This morning, Brian and I had a very pleasant drive, but there wasn't a huge amount of animal life on it, but it was extremely pleasant, and the two of the mammal sightings we had consisted of those 3 male impala. So, hello male impala, I hope you aren't the last we see today. Oh look, there are 4 of them, Brian. Good heavens, our luck is exponentially increasing. The sun is a-setting, and hopefully the lions are awaiting, or whatever else we might see. I must say, it really is turning into a spectacular afternoon. It's lovely to be out slightly later, I must say. That sort of dissipate into honeyed yellows and oranges. I don't think I introduced myself. In case you are in fact a new viewer and wondering who this person is, my name is James, and on camera today we have Brian, dressed in very fine summer garb and bare feet. not sure if you were with us this morning, but we did eventually find tracks of the lions, and it was just sort of towards the end of the drive. And it was quite strange that first of all, the lions hadn't moved very far from the night before, and so we think maybe they have a kill inside the block. It is a big block, and we did do quite a lot of checking this morning but didn't find anything. But I'm hoping that as it cools down a bit, perhaps they'll start to get moving, and perhaps they'll go and have a drink near the Gowrie waterhole, especially if they have got a kill there. And of course, as we talk about the strange goings on in the lives of the lion here, there is the interesting conversation of what's going to happen to the young male lion that lives in the Nkuhuma Pride, and that's Junior. Now Junior, rather disconcertingly, has been seen trying to mate with his mother, and that's not abhorrent behavior for lions. Inbreeding is not such a big problem for them, and so it does happen from time to time, but it does mean that he should, or his father's coalition, and that's the Matimbas, but of course they are nowhere to be seen now. They're somewhere on Mala Mala, in a state of abject shame probably, because they seem to have lost their territory without too much of a fight. Now, whether those 5 young males will chase him out remains to be seen, but given that they are being pretty nasty to the females here, I can hardly believe that they will tolerate the presence. I'd actually quite like to see them together, just to see what would happen. I had a disagreement with Scott about this, and I said I thought that the last time I saw him on a video, he looked much bigger to me than perhaps the Birmingham guys, and Scott said no, he didn't think that was true at all. So it'd be quite interesting to see them together and see who is bigger. The Birmingham should be bigger, they're a bit older than him. And as for this morning, if you see a lion, do tell me and I shall stop.
Oh, sorry, I didn't
yes. Just to remind you. And I just want to quickly stop and show you one of my favorite things in the bush. It's a little bit obscure, but maybe you'll like it, I don't know. Brian, do you mind facing the camera at the sun and through the grass? So one of my favorite things in the bush is the long thatching grass. The year it turns so beautiful golden brown and orange, and when it's faced backlit by the setting sun, can we even see it there, Brian? Here we go, look at that, that's magnificent. And that grass is called Hypothelia dissoluta, which is totally uninteresting, but that is what it's called in case you were worried. But look how beautiful it is, shining there in the late winter sun. Thanks, Brian. Okay, on that rather ethereal note, we'll press on and see if we can find some lions. It's called giant yellow thatching grass in English. So what we'll do is drive around the block in the area today. So I suspect a vulture probably would have spotted the kill if there is one. So we'll just drive around the block and see if we can't spot a vulture or two. And of course just look for some tracks in case they've happened to have popped out of the block. closer to the drainage line. We're on a bit of a slope here. It goes down to the east. While we're driving along looking for enormous cats, just to give you an update on little Sindile, Annie in South Carolina. Sindile has now truly and officially and properly and deeply officially as we speak, watching 3 vehicles on Arathusa. And I'm afraid there are too many people there. There are about 4 people waiting to go and see him. So there's really no point in us going there now. But that's where he is. He's absolutely fine. I think Shadow's left him again. She's probably gone off hunting. She's not with him at the moment. But he's absolutely fine. So that's good news. Bit of good news after the rather dire affairs of the lions. Now, the lions, with any luck, will be just off to the right of us somewhere. You know, it really doesn't matter to me, I'm afraid, if we find them or not tonight. It's just so nice to be out. It's the most wonderful evening. So if we find them, it'll be a wonderful bonus. But if we don't, it's a lovely South African expression, that. Got some beautiful little covey here. Beautiful covey of Coqui franklins. That's so lovely. Ones are the golden heads of the males, so there seem to be quite a few males in this little covey. That's the female on the right of your screen, and the male on the left. They're the smallest franklins that we get here, and their name is onomatopoeic because they say Coqui, 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 then they call. Right, you know what, I've got some tracks here of a vehicle going into the block. Now that may have been one of the rangers. I know one of the guys who just left today did actually go and look in the block. So I think what we'll do is just follow these tracks. You don't care. That might be the way to go. Whew. That's a little bit like Giga was not going to stop there. Nasty old girl that she's been in the last little while. And then we looked at those beautiful little Coqui franklins, and another small and magnificent bird is the spotted owlet. And you would like to see one, Cecilia. I would also like to see one. So perhaps we will be lucky. We are heading down towards a little drainage line, and perhaps there will be a pearl-spotted owlet perched in a tree. Unusual, Cecilia, you know, the pearl-spotted owlet is actually a diurnal owl, which is very unusual for owls. You tend to think is most certainly not a nighttime bird. Where do these tracks go? They go down through there. They do. There is a flattened acacia juvialis there. Watch your head, Brian. While we have a quick look at the block here, we're going to head back across to Scott. He's driving along, exploring the wilderness, and I'll see you just now, hopefully with a bit of luck. Welcome back, everyone. But Jean and I stopped and took some time to stretch our legs and take a breather. And how many flies are on my face at the moment? It feels like quite a few. We took a breather, and while we were stopped and relaxing and just putting our feet up for a few minutes, we heard some impala. There was a female impala. She was looking deeper into the bush where she was in, and we drove up, got past her in the direction where she was looking, and a serval got up and took off into the bush. Now, a serval is an animal that I have never been able to show you here, but I will be able to show you one in the book right now. So let me just find it quickly. Give me a second or two while the flies help themselves. How does this alphabet work? So, thanks, Chandra. This is the serval. I guess the best picture to look at is the bottom one. It's not the best. Get an idea of what kind of a cat it is. Spotted like a cheetah, doesn't have a rosette like a leopard. And if you look over here in this little corner, it'll give you an idea of size. It's got longer legs than your average cat, but kind of the body just bigger than a domestic cat, so not too much bigger. And I know Brent has managed to find one or two of them for you, and I'm not sure if Jamie and James have, but it sadly took off through thick bush at a very, very high speed. But it was interesting that the impala was, and I'm calling at it because it's quite a small predator. It would certainly take down baby impala, but an adult impala wouldn't have to be concerned with the large serval. But where we were, and a little bit early on, now it's not. We were early on a bit of a crest. The wind was blowing, and in windy conditions a lot of the herbivores will be a lot more nervous because they can't hear as well, possibly can't see as well because the grass and everything's moving and hoping to allow the predators to blend in. And maybe that's why the impala did alert us to its presence. And as soon as the serval took off, the birds went bananas and started calling as well. That was not a good place to stop. So the reason why I said you've joined us at a good time in the area is that we are now in the area where James had his last tracks of a male leopard, and this male leopard had moved a long distance from where, further away from this area. Possibly Tingana, possibly Mvula, hard to be certain.
speaking about Djuma, who's a large dominant male leopard. For those of you who have not yet seen him, in Ontario is interested to see how his eye is doing. I think it would have healed almost perfectly by now. It's been quite a long time, and I haven't heard the guides mentioning that it is still bad when they have found him. But what I can do is I can get a hold of Craig right this second for you, Deborah, and ask him for an update on that eye. Craig for Scots. Craig, two things please. One, is Mvuna's eye that was had that problem a while back, has that healed? And are there just the 3 Birminghams that you found this morning? The other 2 are lucky here. We've got a family of Inyala that we can sit and watch while we wait for Craig to get back to us. Interesting, that's a young male who's just disappeared last. You may have seen his horn, similar color to the females. And you may have noticed, or may still have a chance to notice, if he has a little white, no, he's disappeared, but he would have a white little chevron, 2 white stripes between his eyes. And even from a young age you can therefore tell whether it's a male or a female you are looking at. But as the males do get older, they become that much darker chocolate brown. And there was a male that ran off to the right, I thought. So let's see if we can get you a glimpse of him. The guy that didn't hear me or hasn't responded to me, I'm not too sure what the issue is there, but I will keep trying to find out for you. And the Inyala male bull that I saw run off here has disappeared. Oh no, hold on, not quite, nearly disappeared. And it's not going to be the best view, but you will be able to get an idea of the dark chocolate brown coloration. There we go, completely different to the female's rusty orange color. But that's just about all you can pick up from this angle. Ah, this is my favorite time of the evening. It becomes far cooler and the bush starts to come alive. Birds start to call, the predators start yawning wherever they're hiding, stretching, thinking about waking up. Cape turtle dove calling frantically off to our left. Kroo-kroo-roo, kroo-kroo-roo. And it's in these moments like this, when you stop and do nothing, that you can quite often be alerted to some exciting action nearby, and then your very relaxed mood changes to an excited one, and you start up the car and head off as fast as you can in the direction of alarm calls or the rasp of a leopard. But that doesn't happen every time. We're not far at all from where James and Brian skillfully managed to track down the quarantine male not too long ago, albeit with the help of a troop of vervet monkeys. And we'll actually be driving. No guarantees that quarantine or the troop of monkeys will be there, but an example of how the animals can really help us to find the predators out here. For Craig to confirm that Mvula and his funny eye has recovered, because Martha in Connecticut saw a photo posted of Mvula from a couple of weeks ago, and she says that his eye has healed perfectly. So thank you very, very much, Martha. And Deborah, I guess you owe Martha one for next time. And I know a lot of you interact with one another. But thanks to everyone, and in this case, Martha came to the rescue with that info on Mvula. And it won't be the first time that you guys get to see examples of how resilient and tough these wild animals are, and can often pull through even the most nasty of injuries or problems caused from fighting or simply bad luck. And that's why it's also very important in those scenarios to, as a human, rather than naturally wanting to help, to stand back and let nature take its course. One thing that I've been disappointed with during this dry season is the amount of leopard sightings we've managed to find for you guys by seeing them from a long distance up in trees. Because at this time of the year, let me maybe stop and reverse here. But if we look off to our right, and over in the direction of where the sun is setting, you can see the silhouetted branches of the marula trees. And that's probably 300 or 400 meters off the road. But you could still very clearly and quite easily spot a leopard from here to there. Now, a big reason why they may not spend as much time in the trees during the day, which is when we mainly out, is because there's no leaves to protect them from the sun, so there's no shade, but they will still hoist kills into trees, and at this stage of the evening would be a good time to spot one feeding up there. In summer they'll be more prone to use the trees because it keeps them cool up there in the shade, and they lie up there during the day, but very difficult to spot them because of all of the leaves. But we haven't seen nearly enough leopard in trees. We've still got a couple of months there until the dry season is over, so I'm hoping we're going to cash in our credit later on. But it's one of my favorite things, seeing that characteristic silhouette or shape of a leopard in a tree very far off the road, and then scooting in to find out who it is, and it could happen now in the next few minutes. And if it does, you will see one very happy Scot. Well, it sounds like James has taken a bit of an evening stroll in the pursuit of lions, and he would like to give you an update on how his lion tracking has gone. So we're going to send you over onto his vehicle and we'll catch up with you all a little bit later.
Everyone, welcome back to Djuma, where the news is that the lions have not been found by me or anyone else. I walked through this whole block, didn't find anything. Now, Scott and Nikki, of course, went through the southern end of the block this morning. Around slowly, maybe they've got up and gone off to have some water. Didn't find any tracks though either. Negative, no tracks. So I don't know. I basically walked all the way from the road where we were down towards here and stopped on the thicket line there. Who knows? So I think our plan now is going to be to head towards Gari Waterhole, see what we can find there. It's getting a little bit late to be wandering about on foot because the light is going to start to fade. Just for in case. Quite a nice example. I'm just going to stop and have a listen here, and while we do that, Brian, will you just sort of show this bits of greenery that there are here? You can see there's very that will start to change in the coming month as the spring arrives, but it won't be markedly changed until we get a bit of rain, and I don't think that's going to be till November. But that last bit of greenery you can see, of course, is the magic worry bush, and I've only just now started to see animals eat it, and I think that's got something to do with the fact that there truly is nothing else to eat. And I think that you'll find that a lot of animals not envenomated, but they'll certainly show some signs of toxicity should they continue to eat a worry bush only, because I think it's very full of chemical protection. Anyway, so still tough times ahead for some of the herbivores. Can't hear anything in the way of alarm calls from birds or squirrels. That's what you'll stop to listen for if you're tracking lions. Birds, squirrels, or an antelope that comes. But all is very peaceful silent. boer bean, which grows on termite mounds, and some of the jackalberries, which are semi-deciduous. Yeah, excellent question. While we're tracking lions, Angela, you want to know how would we see the tracks? The answer, of course, Angela, is that we wouldn't, but the fact is that there are lots of roads around here. The blocks are not very big, and so the lions would have to cross a road eventually. They couldn't live within a small block without ever crossing a road. We're actually near the hyena den. Let's go and have a quick look there. And so, Angela, because of the way the road network is set up, common for the cats to cross the roads. They have to cross the roads, and it's also common for them to use the roads because it's just easier for them to walk along a road than it is through spiky bush where elephants, just like this, where elephants are pushed over trees and there are thorns everywhere. Lions, a bit like us, like to take the path of least resistance. There's one cat that doesn't do that, of course, and that's the cheetah. They tend to avoid the roads, which is quite interesting, and I think that's because the roads often leopards and lions will mark, and even hyenas. There seem to be a huge amount around. Have a look. No, alas, hyenas are out foraging. Not here, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Let's make our way out. Laughing at Brian. Do you think it's me or you that's creating this dearth of mammal life? Put your heads, everybody. Turn around and watch where we're going. It's really a rather selfish spot for them to put their den. Most inconvenient. Very picturesque though, much more picturesque than the other one. Plenty of booby traps on the way in, most of which have caught me at least once. Out. Poor old Jiga. She's been through a lot in her life, showing signs of giving up now. And see what's there. I'm in Gallagher Waterhole, sorry, you can see what's going on at Gowrie Waterhole. You can see the Djuma Dam cam. So, just a little update I've just received. Apparently, the Matimbas, 2 adult male lions, obviously now in a state of, I don't want to say shame, but they've certainly been ousted from their territory, and they're now south of us in Mala Mala, and apparently they attacked one of the lionesses of one of the Styx Pride breakaways, and somebody has posted a video, so perhaps have a look online. So that's not great news. I think that I'm going to guess here that those Matimbas might hang around at Mala Mala because, as far as I understand it, that particular area at the moment is dominated by the Majingalani coalition, which is, I think, down to 4 now, 4 lions. Here are some more tracks coming out of this block. We're going to have a little drive in, or in case. And so those 4 lions are occupying an enormous territory from all the way in the west of the Sabi Sands all the way to where Mala Mala is. So the Matimbas might find that there's a bit of dearth of male lion activity in the area, and so yeah, they might find themselves a bit of a home there. I don't think it'll be too long before the Birminghams push that far south though, and I think that you'll find that they attacked those 2 lionesses, or that the Styx lioness, because they will be feeling very threatened. So very easy to irritate them into an attack. Excuse the noise. We're just going to do a little check. Look at the injury I have received. I will now remove it. On live television I will perform surgery. Ow! See, Brian? It's got my blood on it. Disgusting. Now, we're going to get lots of questions like this, and they are all valid, and I'm afraid I just don't have the answer right now. But we're going to keep thinking about it. Ray from Las Vegas, why would they kill cubs, at least females? It seems counterintuitive. I agree. It makes more sense for them to kill the cubs. I agree. Why are they killing? Except that maybe the lionesses are trying to defend cubs or trying to defend kills, and because the males are in such a state of hyped upness, their blood is right up, maybe that's what's causing the problem. Maybe they're just so hyped up by this territorial takeover that if there's any conflict over food, what might normally result in a sort of a smack and then it's over, is now resulting in a full-on attack. So Ray, I think that's probably, I don't know, that's I'm guessing. I'm just also trying to follow up on the Djuma pride. I had absolutely no nothing at all.
Are you alright, Jim?
I might need a bandage.
We'll sort you out later.
Thank you. Though we're not looking at lions, we've certainly been talking about them a lot. And Happy Cub, you would like to know, do they have an organ of Jacobson? Now, their organ of Jacobson, everybody, is an organ that sits, or it's also known as the femoronasal organ, and it sits apparently just below the brain, and it helps to interpret olfactory senses. So something like a snake is the best example of it. When you see a snake stick its tongue out, it sort of sticks its forked tongue out and then pulls it back into its mouth, and in the top of its palate it's got 2 holes where the forked tongue goes, and that goes into a tract that leads to this femoronasal or Jacobson's organ, and that helps them interpret the smell that they're getting from around them. Now, there are many, many animals that have the vemeronasal organ, including most of the cats. So happy cub, absolutely. Lions and leopards have that. And when you see them engaging in flehmen, now flehmen is when they're testing if a female is ready to mate or not. What they do is smell her urine, and then you see them sort of curling their faces up like this. And what it does is it opens up the soft palate. Brian, don't laugh at my facial expressions. What it does is it opens up the soft palate and allows the pheromones from the urine to go into that vemeronasal organ, and that helps them to interpret whether a female is in heat or not, or in estrus. Elephants have got it, zebra have definitely got it. I'm pretty sure that all the antelope have it as well. I think we have a vestigial vemeronasal organ, so ours is just not very effective. I think you might find that it's more effective than you know it is. So I've often given this example to people, but I don't know if you've ever experienced being close to somebody who you like as a person, but who just smells wrong. Now that's not to say that they smell like they've just come off a 12-hour shift underground in a mine. It's to say that they don't smell bad, they just smell wrong to you. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. I've definitely had it. I have a particularly sensitive nose though. And what that is, I think, is your vestigial vemeronasal organ, or organ of Jacobson, interpreting, well, it's interpreting various things, mainly to do with parasite load, funnily enough. But I think we do use it more than we think we do. Look, Brian, there are no lions drinking from the Gallagher waterhole short. Crystal, thank you. Yes, I do need a poultice for my wound. I remember dressing Andrew's head after he came off second best at 05:30 with a gum pole. Maybe I should find some Ziziphus and dress my enormous wound. Andrew mercifully showed no ill effects, well, no more than he does normally. He is now, of course, on leave, celebrating Brent Leo Smith's birthday with him. So what I think we'll do for the last little while of the drive, everybody, is we're going to drive down towards Twin Dams Road. In fact, we're going to go central and then down Vulture's Nest, and that's probably meaningless to some of you, but what it means is we're going to go down the centre where we had some male leopard tracks this morning that we unfortunately lost, and maybe he'll pop out in front of us. Like I say, it's a magnificent evening. It's rather warm still. The sun has set, but there's no hint of cool in the air, or no hint of cold. And tomorrow, of course, spring begins. Plus, not many of you. Quite near where that buffalo was killed, and Scott has just checked there, and I think he's going to do one last check, but there's nothing going on there at the moment, so we're not going to go past there, mainly because although we are about 100 meters from it, the air is filled with the stench of death, and when this one has to experience it close hand, one doesn't necessarily want to. Thank you, Cecilia, for noticing my immense fortitude. Cecilia says, everybody, that she's really astonished that I'm able to talk and drive this vehicle despite such an enormous wound upon my arm. Yes, Cecilia, it is a deep trial, but in order for us to take game drive, one must make sacrifices. Thank you for noticing. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you very much. And David, to answer your question, you obviously saw me a little while back, everybody. I put a pod from a leopard orchid in one of the trees of the Djuma waterhole that is hopefully viewable from the camera, in the hopes that it might grow. I have checked it once, David. I haven't checked it for a while, so maybe tomorrow is a good time to check it again. I'm not going to check it now, or I don't wish to injure myself further. You know, I'm not sure I can climb with such a wound upon my arm. But I have checked it once, and David, it wasn't growing yet. It was still there, and it was unmolested by anything, so I'm hopeful. It would be very nice if it came out at Christmas time. They produce lovely yellow flowers with brown spots on them. Hence leopard orchid. Good heavens, look at that. It's an impala, Brian. Our second sighting of the afternoon. The universe hath blessed us richly. As I said this morning, and probably will say another 150 times before the actual birthing takes place, these females are all pregnant, well, most of them, and they will give birth in November. Oh, look at this. This is actually spectacular. Look at the way they're running. Isn't that beautiful? Here they come. They're all coming across the road. They're such graceful creatures, even when they are pregnant heavily. I suppose I should put some form of light in them. Brian, despite my injury, I'm going to shine the spotlight.
Are you sure you're okay to do that?
I'm going to do my best. I'm not sure I'm okay, but I'm going to definitely try very hard.
This is all we can ask you.
I know. Discord, and there seems to be such an amount of sort of overzealous aggression going about the place. Is it more dangerous for us? Yeah, I don't think so, you know. We're certainly very careful all the time, and we won't find ourselves in a conflict situation with the lions. So what we might do is find the lions on foot, and they might notice us, but if we back away quickly, we're highly unlikely to escalate the situation. In a vehicle, I would say that there's no increased danger at all. Certainly something to bear in mind though, Gail. So if they were having a fight, if I knew that the Birmingham boys and the Matimbas were fighting in here somewhere, would I go in on foot to look for them? No, definitely I wouldn't. Most balmy evening. It's wonderful. And I'm sure the moon will start to come up fairly soon. Was it full tonight or full last night? I think we should wrap up the discussion on my incredible wound. Steph, you say, will the incredible flow of blood from my arm not attract the lions? Well, with any luck, yes, it will. But so far, it has not. And Lady Macbeth, I do not have man flu, but thank you for pointing out that it's a possibility. Very deep wound, at least 2 millimeters. On a slightly more serious note, my wound is obviously not that severe. I'm not being entirely serious about it. Eugene, who is in charge of our technical stuff, was attacked recently. There's a diaper. We're not going to shine the spotlight on it, sorry. Was attacked recently by a strychnos bush, and he lost that fight. And the strychnos bush, although his wound is healing, it was quite a nasty cut that he had, and there was some definitely some strychnine in the stick that got him. I mean, I've been scratched by them before, but never affected this badly. And it actually ate away some of the flesh in his arm. It looked like he'd been sort of bitten by a cytotoxic snake. He seems to be on the mend, mercifully. He really is wearing a bandage. Switch off and listen quickly. I thought I may have heard a Franklin alarm calling. Alright, while I sit here and have a little bit of a listen, we're going to nip across to Scott, see what he's doing, and I'll see you just now.
That's... oh. What a beautiful, beautiful evening it is here. And Jeandre and myself have come into the area where James was strolling around earlier in the hope of bumping into the lions. And at this stage of the evening, when it has cooled down, they may have got up and moved into an easier location for us to find them. We certainly won't be walking around anymore. That would be suicidal. To walk around at dusk or after dark is not a wise idea. During the day, if you know what you're doing there, it is far safer and the odds are stacked heavily in your favor. But like I said, it is important for you to know what you're doing, and for anyone to just walk around here day or night would not be a good idea. So what we are going to do is drive around the block that we have been encompassing and encircling and walking through all day, where we couldn't find them, in the hope that they may have popped out somewhere. So we'll be driving onto Aubrey's Road, then Buffels at Cutline, and then back down Gallagher shortcuts. This is the first junction where we will need to turn. Maybe get out the trusty spotlight to help us to find anything that could be hiding in this thick bush. And even if we don't find lion, we could find some other nocturnal critters, small bush babies and nocturnal primates. Who knows, maybe a chameleon if we're lucky, although the summer months are far better for finding the chameleons. But it is getting a lot warmer over the last few days, so maybe they would have come out to enjoy basking in the sun. Game Drive channel for some reason was coming through the mic, which it shouldn't. But like I said, the tech team here at Wild Earth have got never-ending problems to fix, and the amount of equipment in these vehicles is scary enough as it is. And the interesting thing is there's going to be even more toys added into these vehicles over time, and soon I think there's going to be a robot possibly driving you around. And maybe our job as the presenters will be to lie in bed with a joystick controlling the robot and telling them where to go. I wouldn't stick around if that was the case, and of course I am only joking. And earlier on I was chatting about walking on foot and the dangers it may bring. And Don in Missouri would like to know if I've ever been chased whilst on foot. And I've only ever run very few times and therefore been chased. And I guess it was just the term you used, but it's important that I correct you because it is your worst option to run and therefore be chased by anything out here. Other than buffalo bulls or hippos, sometimes if they're out of water, standing your ground is going to be your best defense against just about everything. Lion, leopard, elephants. Either that or shooting the animal if it comes too close. And that is obviously a grey area because some people may feel that X distance is close enough and others may think that it is too close or too far. Anyway, that leaves a bit of a grey area, but I personally have never had to shoot an animal and only very seldomly have ever run from animals. The animals I did run from were black rhino and Cape buffalo. And the reason why I could run was because I was close enough to some big trees that we could scramble up. But most of the time that you do get charged or really charged or approached by aggressive animals on foot, you stand your ground and shout at them and very slowly, very slowly back up. And it's happened many times with lion, leopard, elephants, white rhino. But on one instance, I do remember fearing the most for my life, and that was with an elephant bull, which days before had mauled a human. And that's obviously a very big boundary to cross, and it was confident and fully aware of its ability to overpower humans. And because it had flattened and tried to kill somebody days before me, I thought it was going to try and do the same thing to me and my two guests from Bangkok. Thankfully they thought it was all part of the show and didn't realize the gravity of the situation, and that elephant bull kept us pinned down against an ebony tree for about 20 minutes, charging, retracting, charging, retracting for countless times, until eventually I managed to get a hold of a vehicle on the handheld radio, and it came in and chased the elephants off. But if you do spend enough time on foot out here, you will get some interesting stories. But like I said, the amount of people that spend time on foot in Africa every year relative to the amounts of animals that actually ever need to be shot is very slim. And I will also go as far as to say that a lot of the people that are walking around in these areas, although they may have the necessary training, it is not quite good enough, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Got some interest sparked up on the chameleons I was chatting about earlier, and Doug and James are interested to know Why is it easier to see them in the summer months? Doug and James is interested to know, where do they seek refuge in the winter? And I'll start with the winter months. They'll probably seek refuge in cavities in trees and fallen down trees, anywhere thick and cozy where it's not going to be easier for predators to find them. Will be where they spend their winter months in a very deep sleep. And the reason why it is easier to find them in the summer months, Doug, is because they have come out of these hiding places, and being cold-blooded animals, they rely on the warm summer as well as all the insects that come with the surge of life in our summer. So it's a combination of things. And the reason why it's easier to spot them at night is because I was hoping to try and show you a bush baby. It's a bit far. Let me try and get a bit closer, Jean. Sorry, man, the road loops around. There's a bush baby, but it's a little bit far to see, and it's such a small animal that unless we're close, it's not probably going to be too good. But I think we're in luck. As I was saying, the other reason why it's easier to see them, the chameleons, in summer is mainly because we're using a spotlight at night. Now he's somewhere in there. I can't see him in the monitor. There he is, right in the middle. I'm trying to keep an eye on my monitor. That was me just making a squeaky noise. I'm not sure if you guys can see him. He's keeping dead still, looking right at us. And they've got very, very big eyes, well adapted and suited to their nocturnal lives, and hard to believe that it is a little monkey. It's a primate. And at this time of the year, they'll be feeding a lot on the gum and sap from trees, and they tap into different trees and go back and harvest the gum that is seeped in out of them over the course of the day. So they go to their little sap springs that they've engineered themselves, but they can also feed on insects. There's not too many around in the winter months. It'll be mainly gum that they're feeding on from the trees. And this one's sitting dead still, but they've got the incredible ability to be able to spring and leap huge distances from branch to branch, easily covering 6 to 10 feet in one spring without a run-up. But I think this one, what's it looking at? It's looking away, so that looks good. Maybe it's planning where it's going to go next. It could quite easily jump right out of Gendre's frame to give you an idea of the distances they could pounce. And Gendre is beginning to try and read this bush baby's mind and predict where it's going to go. And I think you have gone to a good spot there, Gendre. Well, while we wait for this bush baby to make its next move, I can continue chatting to all of you, but mainly Doug and James, who are interested about the chameleons. And as I was saying, the reason why it's easier to spot them at night with the spotlights is that during the day their camouflage helps them to blend in incredibly well, whereas at night they go a slightly, ever so slightly paler shade than whatever the bushes they're sitting in. Obviously there's less of a need for intense camouflage at night under cover of darkness. And with the spotlight, when you shine across a bush, if you do see a lightly colored leaf amongst many dark ones, that lightly colored leaf could well have a tail that's curled up like a Swiss roll and actually be a chameleon. So that's what you need to look for. Okay, well, I think we should leave this bush baby to continue relaxing. That doesn't seem to be highly active, and I don't want to attract too much attention to it with the spotlight. An interesting question from Miss Chin in Dallas. Hello and welcome on board. Miss Chin would like to know if chameleons bite. And yes, I do know that they bite. The flap-necked chameleons that we get here, if you pick them up and harass them too much, they will bite you. But it's not very painful because they don't have sharp teeth. And obviously we try as much as possible to not interfere with the wild animals that roam these parts. And the last thing we'd want to do is harass a chameleon to the point that it bites you. I do know, it's what I've read in books, and once or twice been on the receiving end of a chameleon that bites you. What they'll often do though before they bite you, Miss Jim, is that they will flare up their throat patch, and the flap-necked chameleons in this area grow a bright orange color, which is an aposematic coloration. It's a color in nature that means poison, it means danger, and will often help deter even larger predators from the chameleon. And if you don't take heed to that neck flap getting inflated and puffing out bright orange, which you cannot see when it's relaxed, it looks completely green. If you don't take heed to that, as well as the hissing that comes with it, it will bite you. Well, no sign of the lions. Maybe they hopped directly over this road and we didn't see where their tracks ended up further to the east to our left. Well, we've just got a great comment through from Gerda. Hello, and I love your that aardvark sighting is imminent, and she used the hashtag fingers crossed, a good one to use when searching for animals. And Gerda, you wouldn't believe it, but it wasn't too long ago that we went out on a night drive with the staff, some of the team that don't get out as much as the presenters and the cameramen, and Nikki managed to spot an aardvark for us, and all of us on the vehicle got to see it. It was moving off at quite a speed, but they were around, and I think you're right, Gerda. I think we're going to get lucky one of these days. It's going to be tricky for the cameramen because the presenters and the cameramen, and Nikki managed to spot an aardvark for us, and all of us on the vehicle got to see it. It was moving off at quite a speed, but they were around, and I think you're right, Gerda. I think we're going to get lucky one of these days. It's going to be tricky for the cameramen because through the bush, but certainly possible, and if not sure, hopefully at one of the future locations we may film at, be more common. Africa and the world in search of weird and but the accommodation here is not too bad. There's varying accommodation depending on who's who. Oh, that's just a diker. Got it up. But it really does depend, John. Nikki and I are quite lucky because we're a couple, so and Tech Wizard is the oldest. Got it up. But it really does depend, John. Nikki and I are quite lucky because we're a couple, so and Tech Wizard is the oldest member of our team. This wasn't hanging like that. That house and all the staff will stay with us.